Good morning, Copers. Good morning, yo. Happy New Year. It is 2025. The year is 2025, and we are still coping. I'm sorry to inform you that the year is 2025 and we're still coping. The coping will continue until morale improves. Let's get into it. I don't got any big announcements or anything. Tim Pool has announced that he is not, in fact, selling his show to the Daily Wire. It was fake news all along. Maybe an intentional troll Tim himself put out there. Who knows? Or maybe the deal fell apart when he saw how unpopular it was. We may never know the full truth, but Tim says he is not selling his show to the Daily Wire. What is this? Whitney Cummings on the CNN New Year's show?
2024 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Are we still rolling? Am I off?
Go for it.
It was amazing that the pro-choice party didn't give their voters one when it came to the presidential candidate. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's... Oh, God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
No!
Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. I have to complain about community notes again real quick. So I posted this screenshot that I found on one of my Telegram channels. I posted it with no caption, just the image. Okay, and it's a DM from Mom. And this person is saying, "Mom, look, I got bangs." And Mom says, "You look so pure and innocent and vulnerable. What a great actress you are." So I posted this. Why? Because the person is obviously a troon. That is a biological male. So to me, it was a funny double entendre that Mom is saying, "Oh, you're pure and innocent," when really you're a fraud, fraudulently representing yourself to the world, right? So the troon, I didn't know who this person was. But this guy is like an OnlyFans star with 400,000 Twitter followers. And he quote tweeted me and he's like, "I have a good relationship with my mom, actually. You wouldn't understand." And it's like, first of all, I understand that your mom was doing like friendly banter here. The point of the post wasn't to say like, "Oh, look at this person's mom hates them." It was just really the like, yeah, this is not an honest person. They're not innocent because they're a fraud. They're fraudulent. Anyway, I got community noted. Look at this community note. "This photo has been used without permission and is mischaracterizing the original poster's relationship with her mom," her, by the way, "via a lack of context to farm engagement." So it's misrepresented via lack of context. So the irony here, let me finish the note. Cloudy, the person who originally posted this photo, stated she has a good relationship with her mom, as seen here. So the community note should be community noted because they're misrepresenting my intent, which is total headcanon on their part because I didn't say anything. They're just like assuming my intent and then saying that it's wrong, and they're wrong, and then they deserve a second community note on their community note for calling this person she, her. But anyway, the reason I wanted to share this, okay, is because when I saw that I got quote tweeted by this person and I was getting like brigaded by the Coomer Troon Brigade, the immediate first thing that went through my mind No, you don't get TTS unless your donation is worth $3 American or more. The first thing that went through my mind was I should quote tweet his quote tweet and put the picture of Patrick Bateman looking at the business card and write impressive, very nice. Now let's see his relationship with his father. And then I was thinking, you know, these people like massively overshare all the time. I should just go to his Twitter and search the word dad and see what he says. And so I do that. And then multiple tweets come up talking about how his dad committed suicide. And I was like, fuck, man. That's pretty dark. Like, people think I'm heartless. Like I didn't tweet it. So when I saw that, I was like, hey, fuck it. I'm just not going to tweet it. I'm just going to leave it there. You know, people think I'm this heartless bastard. But I was like, you know, I wanted to find a tweet about how I haven't talked to my dad in years or something like that. Not my dad literally fucking killed himself. And also my stepdad is abusive because he didn't want me to troon out. So it might seem hypocritical that I'm sharing the story while bragging about not posting it, but it's, you know, this is the inner circle here on the Cope. This is like my version of a group chat. You guys are my closest 1,000 friends. If I posted this on Twitter, it could potentially get millions of views. So that's, you know, it might seem hypocritical, but it's not. Destiny reduces everything Sam says to being a neo-Nazi.
Run out of people. Oh, the stock prices are going to go down. Oh, that's a problem for the All In podcast to figure out.
One of the things I brought up before, and this is why I wish people would be more honest with what they're saying, because it would let us like talk about these things more, which is also one of the reasons why I shit on these like free speech losers, because they don't care about free speech, they just want to lie, is to these people. So when you're looking at like the Sam Hydes or the Nazis, for that pie chart that I had up, racist people and economic anxiety people still care about like the economy and the overall well-being of the nation. People in this camp, the neo-Nazis, are okay taking semi-significant steps backwards in terms of economic progress, technological progress, scientific progress. They're okay taking steps backward to
Would love to see you have the guy back on that you debated about the Rotherham scandal now that so many more details have come out recently from all over Europe.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that a little bit later in the show. Yeah, Jangle's the science lad. I have no desire to, and I don't think he would like, I talked to that guy for like fucking 2 hours about that, and he wouldn't change his position. His whole position was like, okay, but it's not an epidemic. I got you, shit lord, because even something you didn't say, but this article calls it an epidemic, but it's not an epidemic because we don't know how many actually got raped. And it's like, well, we know. This is what I kept saying to him in the debate. I was like, we know it's at a bare minimum thousands of underage girls were raped. And he's like, oh, so that's an epidemic? And it was, oh man, bad memory, frustrating. Anyway, we're going to get to that in a sec. Thanks for the $5. And Destiny, of course, wrong as usual. The argument that immigration improves your economy is not true. We showed that. We showed the chart on yesterday's or Tuesday's show about how as immigration increases, the real per capita GDP actually goes down. You know, maybe there's a sweet spot. Maybe there's something to be said for like just a small elite immigration that would improve your GDP, but you know, it's not going to have a big effect if it's just a small group of people. They bring in a big group of people and it has a negative effect.
Preserve some notion of white culture. They're totally fine with that. I don't know if they say that as much publicly, like they'll just allude to things like GDP, but similar to communists who will say things like when Professor Wolf, who was the commie guy that I argued with? something Wolf. Richard Wolf. Yeah. When he said like, hey, listen, in a communist society, maybe you don't have PS5s, right? Nazis will make the same argument. However, they'll make it like ironically. So like the ironic manifestation of that argument is, oh no, I'm not gonna have a kebab on every corner. Oh no, I'm gonna have less Taco Bells. Or, oh no, my GDP and my stocks are gonna go down. Oh no, like these are things they don't care as much about. They don't care as much about that. They're willing to step back economically a bit because
I mean, it's not clear that it is a step back economically, but even if it was, is it so fucking crazy to think that there are things in life that are more important than the GDP? Or having a PS5 for that matter? Like, obviously I don't agree with some retard communist on how to run things. But it's not that fucking crazy to think that like if a PS5 has a certain cost attached to it that's going to significantly affect your quality of life, then maybe you're better off not having a P or whatever it is, you know?
their mind.
There's like an implicit assumption in what Destiny is saying here that the economy is actually the most important thing that matters more than anything, which is actually kind of fucking crazy.
They would argue, I would much rather have a cohesive, homogenous, peaceful society with high levels of social cohesion and trust than the latest iPhone 27.
Right.
I don't think that the iPhone 27 is making me happier when Jamal and Tyrone and Pedro are raping and outbreeding all of the white people in the United States. That would be their version of the argument, yeah.
David's.
So how is that wrong? What part of that is wrong, though? You're just like you're gonna sit there and steel man and be like, this is what they believe, and then you just go on as if it's obviously wrong, and you don't have to explain what the problem. What you don't have to explain why PS5s are worth your daughters getting raped or whatever. It's Dean rage quit against Andrew Wilson in a debate.
Your normative view. So at this point, the same way I'd ask someone that thinks being gay is wrong, why they think being gay is wrong. The same way I'd ask someone that thinks racism isn't wrong is why do they think that racism is good. I'm asking you to provide one singular reason why promiscuity is wrong.
And I can't wait to do that. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, clarifying questions.
Sent $5. Welcome back, P. I can cope another day and a meaning back in my life. Also, when all the new power chat voices coming in.
Yeah, thank you for the $5. Yeah, if you mean the AI voices, yeah, I didn't get it. I haven't had a chance. I'll try to do that in the next couple weeks. I don't know. It's hard, man. I still have to try to book the progress report, and something that has added a lot to my schedule is editing clips from the Daily Cope to put on the Hypocrite channel. I'm just really, really tight on time, but I will try to get to that. Thank you for the $5.
Questions is all I'm asking for.
Here, Dean, hold on. Andrew, if Dean answers the questions, like how long will it, like 3 minutes, 2 minutes? How long do you
it's just a few questions so that we can clear up a few.
Okay, do you need 2 minutes? Andrew, how much?
Give me like just a few questions, maybe like 2-3 questions.
Okay, Dean, is that okay? Dean, can you answer just 2 or 3 questions for Andrew?
I failed to see any possible question that would be relevant. What are your questions? I mean, let's see if they're relevant.
For the sake of time, just answer them, and then.
So the first question is, what does wrong mean when you're asking me if something is wrong? What does that mean? I already
clarified on that. You weren't listening.
Yeah, I know. Clarify again, though, please.
Andrew and LP would be a great regular. Yeah, I would slowly red pill him. I would slowly just turn him into like an open national socialist. Bit by bit.
Are you listening? I said it.
I just want to be precise here. What do you mean when you say wrong?
I already said it. I'll say it again. It's something that you should.
Yeah, say it again, please, so that I understand.
It's something.
Yeah, I need clippers. Yeah, I need an army of sycophantic. Let me take that back. I need an army of loyal soldiers to clip the show and post it all over Twitter or whatever. Yeah.
You shouldn't do in a normative sense.
Okay, so you ought not do the thing.
Yes, bro. Holy shit.
Okay, so we ought not do the thing. Now, the second question that I have is,
so this guy's saying what is good about racism, and this guy goes, well, what does it mean for something to be wrong, Wilson? And then Dean says it's wrong means it's something that you shouldn't do. And I guess the context is they're talking about promiscuity. The question that Dean, what's this guy's name? The question that this guy asked was, what Nate, like, say one bad thing about promiscuity, which is really fucking easy to do, by the way. And he's like, okay, well, what do you mean by wrong? And he says something you ought not to do.
Is when you say ought, are all oughts axiomatic?
All right, Andrew, fuck you. You're wasting my time.
All right. Andrew, you still there? He left.
I'm still here. I don't. Where'd Dean go?
I think that
I just had a couple clarification questions, but he just said "fuck you" and rage quit. I just wanted to clarify a couple things.
Yeah. Well,
that's funny, but like honestly, I can kind of relate to Dean a little bit. Like, are all oughts axiomatic? Shut up, nerd. Talk like a person. It reminds me of like arguing with Ask Yourself and kind of those. There's like a level of philosophical autism where it actually does become really frustrating. And a question like, are all oughts axiomatic, is kind of hitting that level, quite honestly. Having said that, I would have liked to hear, even though I can predict it because these people are so predictable, but I would have liked to have heard what he would say in response to like just all of the negative effects of promise. Because there's so many, if you like make a pro and con column value for promiscuity, the negative effects is like depression, attachment issues, higher suicidality rate, higher like imprisonment rate, substance abuse issues, mental health issues, like dotted all down the line. And then on the pro column, it's like feels good in the moment, is fun. You know what I mean? Allows you to try to convince yourself that you have worth because people are willing to have sex with you, but that doesn't last. That's an illusion of self-worth through sex, whether you're a man or a woman. And I just would have liked to hear what Dean had to say to that, because it's like, I imagine he would say that, well, that's all your choice, right? Like yes, there's all these bad things, but who are you to tell people they shouldn't engage in like egregious acts of self-harm that also cause total societal here's the thing, the problem is it goes beyond you hurting yourself when people can't maintain relationships in your culture, and then children are growing up without both parents in the home because of that, and so on and so forth. It's a good debate to have, but yeah, Andrew, he could have been a little bit less autistic there with the philosophy stuff. So there was a terror attack in New Orleans, as I'm sure you've all heard, yesterday. 10 people killed was the last figure I heard. Dozens more injured. Truck ramming. And in the immediate aftermath, when this, like, just immediately after this happened, the FBI came out and said that it was not a terror event.
Patrick said we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found.
This is not a terrorist event. It was improvised explosive devices. So in the truck, the guy had IEDs. He's an Arab, and he had an ISIS flag. And if they knew about the IEDs, they would have known about the other two things, right? They would have known that he was an Arab man, he was a brown man with an ISIS flag flying, and they're immediately like, hey guys, it's not terror. We don't know what's going on here, but we know one thing. This is not terrorism. The terrorism thing's been crazy. By the way, I was on the Tuesday show, I was running through kind of the brief recap of all these crazy news stories that happened, and I totally forgot to mention the terror attack in Germany, which was also a vehicle ramming in a Christmas market. And it's, you know, every time I see this stuff, I think back to that debate with Vosh where and with Jangles. I also debated Jangles on this about how, like, oh, right-wing terrorism is the biggest threat to national security. And it's like, we've had all of this terrorism lately and none of it is right-wing. There's also a Cybertruck attack at Trump Tower yesterday. We're going to get to that in a little more detail in a second. But spoiler alert, the guy was like a Trump derangement syndrome retard. I mean, we don't know that much about him. Maybe it'll come out that he was far right. Seems extremely unlikely, though. Like, it's not what I would bet on. You know, and you got like the Chud Cell girl school shooter. You got all these Muslim terror attacks. We haven't had right-wing terror in a while. I can't even remember, honestly, the last time. In the aftermath of the attack, a massive crowd of Hamas supporters went into downtown Manhattan calling for a global intifada. It's very quiet. So good timing on the pro-Palestine people's part right after a Muslim terror attack. By the way, given the timing, I'm always very suspicious about this shit because, you know, Israel benefits from anti-Muslim sentiment. So I'm always a little bit suspicious when, given the timing of this, is like, is there more to the story? I don't know. But bad news for the, like, as long as it's legal and as long as they assimilate and as long as they're high skilled. This guy was like a middle class immigrant who was in the U.S. military. He had his citizenship in the U.S. and he still should have had to go back. You know what I'm saying? This is the guy who killed 10 plus people in New Orleans,
Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist.
No, he wasn't an H-1B, and somebody was like bragging about that on Twitter. They were like, turns out the New Orleans terrorist was an American citizen and not an H-1B visa holder. And it's like, again, this is what I've been trying to say. You keep missing the point. He's brown. All right. I don't care. I don't care if he's got a visa or a citizenship card. Interesting timing with Jared Taylor getting reinstated. Yeah, Jared Taylor did not get reinstated. Don't get it twisted. He just got tired of waiting and made a new account. We're going to touch on that in a minute as well. Tesla faces backlash for replacing U.S. workers with H-1B hires. This was posted on December 31st. Tesla has reportedly replaced thousands of U.S. employees laid off earlier this year with foreign workers on H-1B visas, sparking debates over labor practices, Breitbart reported. Yeah, very interesting. Elon Musk Tesla replaced laid off Americans with foreign workers on H-1B visas. Interesting. So almost like everything we've said has been totally vindicated, and these people are not America first. And it's, adding insult to injury is Elon tweeting like, oh, you want America to lose. You're not on Team America. Excuse me? You're the one who's not on Team America, buddy. Here's the Cybertruck attack that happened outside Trump Tower yesterday morning.
All right, play it. Copy.
So the guy was inside the truck when it detonated. So a suicide kind of thing, I suppose we can assume. And a lot of people are like making fun of this on Twitter because he clearly chose the Cybertruck as like a symbolic of, he's like, basically what it seems he was trying to say was, I'm here and I hate Musk and I hate Trump. That was basically the message that we can interpret at a base level. Was he already dead? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we know that yet, actually. I just would assume the guy blew himself up and committed suicide, but I don't know. But everybody was joking because the police said, look, because the Cybertruck is bulletproof. And he was white. Yeah. It was so well built that it like really contained the explosion. Like the damage could have been so much worse if the damage could have been so much worse if he had not used the Cybertruck, which he presumably did as part of like his political statement. This is the guy, Matthew Livelsberger. This is just kind of breaking news. I'm almost tempted to do a Twitter search, but the problem with Twitter searching is there's porn. People just inject porn into the search results. He's been identified as the person responsible for detonating the Cybertruck in Las Vegas. Matt is allegedly seen here in a video posted by his wife, Sarah, whose Facebook account clearly shows her hatred for Donald Trump. To clarify, Sarah is allegedly Matthew Livelsberger's ex-wife. As far as I know, she's not accused of anything. This is the only video I've seen of the Las Vegas suspect, and it was posted on her public account on Facebook in 2016.
Posted up, midnight red-eye flight.
Livelsbergowitz.
Sarah Beans. No Matty B.
Try not to be weird.
Not to be weird.
Not allowed to be weird or embarrass him. I can't do that.
We're judging people in front of the walking thing where you can choose to walk, you can choose to stand still.
So the wife, let me do an off-screen search real quick here. Just see what Twitter's pulled up on this guy. Because my mind is racing. Did he his wife is a Democrat supporter, so okay, hold on, let me just do a quick check to make sure there's no porn in here. Yeah, okay, well, it looks like we're okay for the top results.
Daily Mind virus sent $3 with full self-driving. Couldn't they have whacked a kid, put them in the front seat and had the car drive all the way up there all by itself?
Well, why do you have to kill a kid in that scenario? that part doesn't seem necessary either, right? Well, why have anybody in the car if it can drive itself? You have to kill a kid, you weirdo. So they need a patsy to take
Chuck
the fall.
Steak sent $3. Cybercuck is up there in heaven with the dude who set himself on fire for Palestine for some retarded reason.
Yeah. What was that guy's name? Andrew Bushnell or some shit. I wasn't going to say this, but the Troon talking about how his dad committed suicide, the first tweet that came up was he was using it to like shout out Bushnell. He's like, don't make these comparisons. My dad killed himself because he hated life. Aaron Bushnell, or whatever his name is, he was sending a message. They're not the same. And I just thought using your dad's suicide to like big up Palestine is a weird thing to do. Look what this lady got in the email as a surprise. Perks of being a registered Democrat. I can't wait to slap this baby on my truck. Hashtag excited woman. This is from 2016. According to his LinkedIn profile, Livelsberger is a former Green Beret and Army Special Forces team sergeant. He holds a bachelor's degree in strategic studies and defense from Norwich University. What the fuck is going on with people these days, man? Matthew Livelsberger changed his signal safety number just before the explosion, and then his photo and safety number changed after the explosion. Conspiracy theorists already cooking. Everyone take a close look at the Ukraine shirt he's wearing. Photo surfaces from LinkedIn that he inquired about a job in Ukraine. Looks like we got pretty loose little threads that we're pulling on here, or what's Andy say? This guy unfollowed me, by the way. I just saw that yesterday. Unfollowed me on Twitter. Hurts. I looked into the background of Matthew Livelsberger, the 37-year-old from Colorado Springs who drove a two-row rented Tesla and blew up at the Trump Hotel. Livelsberger is a U.S. Army veteran. Like the New Orleans ISIS terror suspect, Livelsberger's LinkedIn is no longer online, but there are ghost remnants of his background. He served at the same military base as the New Orleans jihadist Shamsuddin Jabbar. Oh, wow, the plot thickens. They both were at the same base. Both have skill sets in IT. Both rented vehicle from Turo. Both rented electric vehicle. Really activates the almonds. I don't know. Anyway. The Groypers who were banned during the H-1B war have not been reinstated. He'd follow me if I was more inclusive. Yeah, I mean, I always assume when it's somebody like that they were like, oh, this guy's like a crazy white nationalist or whatever. I assume, but who knows? Maybe it's just too much slop for his taste. I don't know. I thought we were friends, Andy. Thought we were friends, man. Fuentes says Twitter censorship is back. Free speech is dead. Seth Dillon says 1.6 million views isn't censorship.
Whenever you see military, intelligence background, you know you are dealing with the gayest of glow-ups.
Yeah, are you though? I don't know. I'm not sure you can just make that conclusion just because. It is a little bit weird. Oh yeah, Josh Moon got his ex back. Yeah, I I replied to him because he posted his. This is actually funny, pretty funny. We should pull it up real quick. This is his appeal that he sent in. Description of the problem. He writes, please help me, Sar. I am Indian. I am fucking Indian. Help me, Sar. I am Indian. I am fucking Indian. Please help me. Please help. I am fucking Indian. And they gave him back his account for that one. So Nick says censorship is back. He gets 1.6 million views. Seth Dillon says it's not censorship if you get 1 million views. And Elon Musk says claiming censorship while simultaneously getting millions of views is the clearest possible evidence that Fuentes has shit for brains. Musk is actually the one who's kind of looking like he has shit for brains right now, I have to say. Because obviously Nick wasn't talking about himself, although the fact that Nick isn't allowed to have a blue check mark is also a form of censorship. As we know, your reach is reduced if you don't have a verified account, and they simply will not allow Nick to have a, so that actually is censorship, unless you're going to tell us you've been lying the whole time about how premium accounts work. Nick ratioed the shit out of Elon Musk. So Musk has 12K for calling Nick shit for brains, and Nick says, when you declared war against opponents of H1B, did that include banning or unverifying X users who disagree with you? That seems to be the perception after the wave of suspensions and de-verifications this week.
25 for the new year. It's time for white niggas to go hard as fuck.
Yo, $25. Thank you, Anonymous on Streamlabs. Appreciate the support very much. What is that? Was that 22 plus 20? So 42. 442. Is that where we're at? Where did the save button go? Okay. Thank you for the $25. 39,000 likes on Nick's tweet. Twitter will not censor accurate information about anything. And so I think, you know, the argument for these accounts being suspended from Musk is that they were engaging in some kind of platform manipulation. That's dubious. Were they really? Or did they just have like group chats where they posted each other's tweets? Like, does that count as platform? We don't know. It's all very opaque. There's no transparency happening with the Twitter here.
$5. Welcome back, LP.
Yo, Fashoto. Thank you, man. Thank you for the $5. It's good to be back. And then, by the way, there's other people were getting demonetized and I forget who it was yesterday. Somebody else. Who the fuck? I don't know. A big account though. I can't remember who. And then Musk had like put out a tweet where he was like, yeah, free speech doesn't mean you're going to get paid, right? So he's basically saying like, you can still talk, but we're going to demonetize you, which, as everybody knows, that creates a chilling effect if people are scared of losing their money. Grok admits there is no evidence that the Groyper accounts actually broke X's term of service. Anyway. And then this is the ultimate irony, right? So Michaela Peterson posts, wow, I tried to share Jordan Peterson's first interview with Tommy Robinson where he addresses grooming. YouTube has disabled sharing and commenting, re-uploading to X on his channel. YouTube, you realize you're on the side of the rapist, right? And so if you haven't been on Twitter, the grooming gang thing is getting like massive traction, which is like good. Finally, I guess. Finally, people are like angry enough to demand some accountability. Musk has been tweeting about it a lot, which is good. Whether anything will come of it remains to be seen. The guy who sent in the power chat at the start of the show today said something like, have you seen all the new information? It's actually not really new. There's nothing, all this stuff you're seeing that you're like, oh, wow, that's horrific. Idork. Who's Idork, Joey Jojo? Don't make me ban you. You've been around for years. Oh, Idubbbz. Okay. It's talking about Idubbbz from the time. I forgot. I always forget what the title of the show is. Anyway, you didn't, if you only in the last few days figured out that horrific things were happening in the UK for the last several decades, I don't know where the fuck you been, but some of us been knowing, okay? Some of us made a 2-hour documentary detailing the horrors and the corruption and the cover up, you know, like 4 fucking years ago, which not to like claim credit for being a trailblazer on that. People like Tommy Robinson, Mark Collette, Andrew, what's his name? Andrew Northam, something. The guy who wrote that big article in the Times, Julie Bindel. They were like the original whistleblowers from literally like 12, 13 years ago. By the way, Norwood, thank you. Thank you, Quiggle. Andrew Norwood. Yeah. By the way, I'm doing Mark Collette's show on Wednesday, January 8th. Is it? Yeah. So this Wednesday, I'm doing his show. I don't really know the details. I don't know what it is. Yeah, but I'm doing it Mark Collette's show as a guest on Wednesday. Anyway, so it's good that everybody's talking about this, and I would love to see something happen. But there it is also kind of weird where it's like Michaela Peterson is the one getting the Elon Musk quote tweet. By the way, J.K. Rowling was also tweeting about it, so this is getting lots of exposure. So I mean, it's good. It's better late than never. But like when I was on the Red Ice stream on Monday with Ferryman from Canada, Ferryman's Toll, he was saying, I said something and he kind of responded. He was like, yeah, it's going to be hard over the next few years seeing all the centrist cucks adopt our talking points and not feeling like, and not being kind of bitter about it. And it's true. It's like, it's obviously like a good thing that people are talking about the grooming gangs, but it is hard. You have to check yourself and not be like, hey man, some of us have been in the trenches before it was popular, kind of thing, you know? Northrop? No, it is Norwood, isn't it? Am I tripping now? Well, whatever. Northrop, that doesn't sound right. I don't think this is the guy. Times, grooming gangs. Hold on. Times, grooming gangs. Journalist. What? Oh, it was coming up there. It was in the autocomplete. Andrew Norfolk. Fuck me. Okay. We figured it out, you guys. Norwood is like that thing when you go bald or whatever, right? That was the joke. Got it. Anyway, back to this Musk tweet. There is an irony about how you know, people were saying this in the replies too, is like this Elijah Schaefer tweet. That is crazy. People losing features on a social media app for speech the platform doesn't like, particularly restricting reach like this along with monetization features because he says something they disagree with, even though it's true. Cannot believe YouTube did this, right? Like the parallels are obvious here. All these people getting de-verified, demonetized. De-verification means by definition a reduction in reach. And it really, you know, I hope Musk is fucking pulls his head out of his ass sometime soon, because it really drives home the point of the problem with censorship is, right, in Musk's world, like Jordan Peterson and Tommy Robinson are heroes who shouldn't be censored. But like, that's the point, right? One person's sensible centrist is another person's far right extremist. That's why you can't give people the power to decide who should and shouldn't be allowed to speak and have a platform. That's the whole point of free speech, by the way. Yeah, I like Ferryman too. I wanted to have him on my Christmas stream, but he was busy, unfortunately. And another person who was banned, just I think this morning this came out. Andrew Torba tweeted this. Corey J. Mahler, who, if you don't know, is one half of the Stone Choir podcast, which has become like my favorite podcast. I listen to it literally every day because I'm trying to get caught up and go through the whole backlog, like every single episode. And I just thought I'd use this, him getting banned. I've been meaning to like shout them out for a while, but I guess now's the time. He lost his Twitter account. It's a Christian podcast, okay, and it's hardcore. So if you're not a Christian, you're probably not ready for Stone Choir. But if you are a Christian who is also based and you haven't checked out Stone Choir, you are in for a treat, man. It is fan-fucking-tastic. These guys are super high IQ. I don't know what Corey's IQ was, but the other guy, on the episode about IQ, he said his IQ was measured at like 160. So this guy's 2 standard deviations above yours truly. And when they're doing their scripture Bible studies, they go back to the original language in the historical context and all that kind of stuff. It's not Catholic. They are Lutherans. Is that the word? They're Lutherans. Martin Luther, is that the guy? They are Lutherans. But it's all scripture, right? So it's basically I don't know that much about Lutheranism, but from what I understand, it's just like we go to scripture and everything comes from scripture. It's very good. Check it out. I wish, because people would like call into the show sometimes and be like, LP, how do you reconcile being a Christian who's also racist or whatever? If you want the 160 IQ answer to that question, check out the Stone Choir podcast. Mr. Beast got engaged. This guy's got the weirdest, like most forced smile. It's like a robot, you know what I mean? It's like I rewatched all the Aliens movies over the holidays. That was like my thing that I did over the holidays. And he's like a synth. He's got that unsettling synth-like quality. Although the synths and aliens, they don't even try to mimic emotions, but that's how it comes across. It comes across as a robot trying to mimic what a smile is supposed to look like. And then they're all wearing the goofy Christmas sweaters, and at first you're like, okay, well, whatever. Matching Christmas sweaters for the family, whatever. But then you take a closer look, and you're like, wait a minute, Mr. Beast, this is like his merch. So we got his family to dress up in his merch for his engagement picture. There's just something like totally psychotic about that. But congratulations to Mr. Beast on his engagement, I guess. Sargon apologized to Millennial Woes on the Lotus Eaters. They're talking about Elon Musk here.
Retrenchment of the liberalism in him. and I don't think it won the battle, right? In the same way that it didn't with me either, because I must have said something very similar to Woes back in like 2017, 2018, and it didn't win that battle then, right? And Woes, I am sorry.
Oh my God!
I'm
You
not
heard
going to
it.
unblock you.
Heard it
I'm
here
sorry.
first, folks. Someone.
Did he say I'm not going to unblock you, but I am sorry? Hold on.
Oh my God!
I'm
You
not
heard
going
it.
to unblock you.
Yeah, that's me. Sorry for being wrong, but I'm not going to unblock you.
Here first, folks. Someone's going to clip that. They're going to send it to
That's
him.
totally
He's going to be thrilled.
That's why I'm saying it in public, right? But I went through something very similar, and I think Elon's going through something like that. And I think I recognize this because I'm that kind of Gen Xer like he is, right? And so I'm being a lot more forgiving. Now, I'm not going to say you can't be right. It could be entirely cynical, and I might be wrong. Right?
I hope that.
I don't know the full context, but they're talking about something. I think what they're talking about is Musk going hard on the grooming gang stuff, and like, is Musk like redeeming himself now, and he's based again? And I wouldn't go that far. First of all, tweeting out free Tommy 20 times. Like, look, Tommy Robinson shouldn't be in jail. I consider Tommy Robinson to be a hero. I know there's people who hate him because of the Zionism. You know, I know there's people watching right now who hate Tommy Robinson. I don't, but it's like, I like him, but it's like, he is not the poster child for based. Okay. He's actually like, you know, another like anti-racist guy who cares more about money than his own people, honestly. He did some good things though with the grooming gang stuff, so he deserves respect.
You're right.
Yeah, I know, and I hope
because Elon is in far greater a position of power than we will ever be, especially having the ear of Trump himself to affect positive change on this. But this recent outburst, alongside other statements that he's made over the past few years, and sadly also statements that Trump himself has made over the need for enormous numbers of skilled migrants to come into the US, I am skeptical.
Yeah, and the censorship is very concerning. Like, we're gonna turn around and celebrate Musk like tweeting about grooming gangs while he's banning and de-verifying and demonetizing all of the kind of most controversial. Oh, I'm starting to vaguely remember. It was like that Suleiman I made and Jake Shields lost his check mark. And there was two other ones. I can't remember.
Great recommendation, LP, on the Stone Choir Hardcore Christianity. I was looking for a supreme spiritual shield.
Yeah, I really can't recommend it enough. And these guys, listening to these guys has been increasing my faith, quite honestly, because they believe everything. They you know, so there's always been certain things that I struggle with, like really, like Noah rounded up one of each species on a boat and then everybody else died and then we're all descended from Noah. Like, that seems like that one's always been a hard one for me to be like, yeah, that probably happened. But these guys believe everything happened, and it's just like, I'm like, okay, well, maybe. You know, I'm starting to come around on some of the things that have been harder for me to, you know, not doubt or whatever. Keith Wood says Indian activists argue they should mimic Jewish behavior in the West by engaging in ethnic nepotism, creating lobby groups like AIPAC to make politicians serve Indian interests, and working against Hindu phobia with media control. I haven't listened to this actual clip yet. Let's check it out.
And as for your question about, like, you know, what the Jewish community has done, they've built very strong networks through, like, obviously a lot of advocacy groups. And I feel like, you know, Hindus can sort of.
Kevin Sorbo lost his check? That's a weird one. What is going on, man? It's scary because like Twitter is like a significant portion of my income. It's like, wait, he follows me too? What is going on? Based. Fuck you, Andy. No, I got a bigger, cooler guy. Let's go. Why would Kevin Sorbo lose his check mark? I didn't get blacklisted from Hollywood. I left because they're all pedos. Let's fucking go. That's weird though, because this guy's not particularly like inflammatory, is he? Oh, this is so Stu Peters. Oh yeah, Myron and Anastasia Lupa. So it's very concerning. I don't like this Suleiman Ahmed guy, but I'm actually not huge fans of any of these people, to be honest. Somebody like Jake Shields I like more, but we don't have to get into all that. It's scary. Like I'm sitting here looking at like, I've got a fucking family to feed. I don't want to lose 40% of my income like that because I said the wrong thing. Kevin Sorbo, Hercules Hyperborean edits when? Yeah. Kevin Sorbo on the progress report when? Okay, where were we?
Mirror that by fostering strong connections through temples.
Mirror that. Let me go back to the beginning. I actually want to pay attention to this.
And as for your question about what the Jewish community has done, they've built very strong networks through obviously a lot of advocacy groups. And I feel like, Hindus can sort of mirror that by fostering strong connections through temples to organizations. And we can also form, a lot of advocacy groups. Political power and collective unity is also very, very important. And that's what we as a pack are trying to do. We're trying to get a lot of these Hindu Americans who have traditionally voted for Democrats. We are trying to sway them towards the Republican Party. And that's collective unity is also very, very, very important. You have a lot of Jewish PACs that have demonstrated influence in foreign and domestic policy. They educate policymakers. They fund candidates to align with their interests, and they ensure that their issues, like their support for Israel, are central to US policy. And so we should create similar organizations that promote Hindu and Indian interests and that strengthen Indo US relations and that highlight, our issues like Hindu persecution, like Hindu phobia, et cetera, et cetera. And I think media and narrative control is also very important because you have a lot of Jewish influence in industries like Hollywood that has helped counter anti-Semitism and that has helped them promote their narratives. And I think we have to invest more in the mainstream media and content creation because we have to address a lot of misinformation about Hinduism and rampant Hindu phobia. And so I think
Vasan, thanks for sharing your perspective. Maybe
honestly horrifying. We're already trying to deal with organized Jewry, and now we got organized pooery. Oh, I don't have the thing on. Hold on. We haven't played the Jeet jingle in a while. It's not the best jingle, but it feels like a good time to play it now.
Your beaches and your bars, nothing is safe. Your bobs and vaginas. So far, we've only gotten a taste. On the daily course, you'll be fully informed. The Jeet hive is swarming and never conforming. No redeem the card.
Yeah, white people are literally the only people who will not organize in their group interests. And it's like, at some point you got to admit that that's not fair. That's not equality. That's not meritocracy. If every other fucking group is willing to organize, do work, fund, etc., their group's self-interest, and you just sit back and do nothing and let that happen, you're the one getting taken advantage of. You're the one getting, oppressed, so to speak. And it's also just like why multiculturalism, as he says this is what liberalism with multiracialism crashes out to. Yeah, this is actually better than let's call it what it is. It's not multiculturalism that's the issue. It's not French and Englishmen trying to coexist. It's multiracialism. A bunch of ethnic lobby groups competing for advantage using the language of tolerance as weapons to subdue the host population. Nathan Kaufness quote tweeted this and said, Keith Woods made up the ethnic nepotism part. The speaker says he wants to, I think it's pretty heavily implied when you're like, hey, we need to organize in our group interest. What a stretch to think that people who want to form ethnic like super PACs to control politics would also like prefer hiring their own people or whatever, employing their own people, voting for their own people, etc., etc. It's a real stretch. The speaker says he wants to, 1, turn Indians Republican, 2, strengthen Indo-U.S. relationships, and 3, highlight issues like Hindu persecution and phobia. One of the main complaints against minorities used to be that they don't vote conservative. But when they do vote conservative, race nationalists hate them even more. Normal human behavior, such as asking people to stop being racist against them, is held up as proof of a sinister plot. What the ADL does is normal human behavior for sure. The SPLC, when I think of the SPLC,
Murdoch 2025 will be featuring Hercules opining on the merits of ethnic nationalism over civic nationalism.
That's right. Thank you for the $5. Let's go. Yeah, when I think of the SPLC, the first thing that comes to mind is a bunch of normal humans just doing normal human shit. After nationalists succeed in driving Indians away from the conservative movement, it will be time to come up with a scientific theory about how Hinduism is a group evolutionary strategy to undermine Western societies. And the reason Indians don't vote Republican is because they're genetically programmed to be against whites. After all, there is no other explanation for why Indians wouldn't want to be on Team Keith Woods. Nathan Kaufness is Jewish, by the way, full disclosure for anybody who doesn't know. In case you're wondering, yes, he is.
Very interesting. One more observation in my Jew log.
Jared Taylor is back. He made a new account on X yesterday.
Sent $3. No, sir, don't post thousands of videos of Jeets shitting in the street.
Yeah, really.
I'm being persecuted.
Yeah, it's almost like Hindu phobia is or whatever we're calling it, anti-Hinduism. It's almost like it's similar to anti-Semitism in that it's the product of a certain group's behavior and not just some weird made-up conspiracy theory by crazy, intolerant, small-minded people. And he's been gaining traction pretty quickly here. Like I just refreshed. He's got another 3,000 followers, 41,000 followers in like less than 24 hours does Jared Taylor have. Whether he'll be allowed to keep the account is unclear because, it says right here, join January 2025. This is not a reinstatement. This is a new account. We'll see what happens. They also made a new American Renaissance account, which follows me, so that's cool. All right, where were we? James Lindsay, though, he's not super stoked about where this is all headed.
James Lindsay, so bright and wise, spreading thoughts that mesmerize. Let's see what he has to say today, Mr. Lindsay.
Sorry if that was kind of loud. It's the only, because that FBI chick was super quiet. It was like constant monitoring on the volume dial because it all comes through one thing. James Lindsay says joined today and is like, oh no, he's got 13,000 followers in a day. It's like, yeah, it's up to like 45,000 now, but who's counting, James? When was this posted? Oh, this is a screenshot from Robin Riley. Millennial Woes has been arguing with James Lindsay, and so has Keith Woods. It must be nice. Must be nice to not be blocked by James Lindsay and get to like ratio him over and over and over again. Like, look at this. James Lindsay says, what are white people collectively? I love how he puts white people in scare quotes, like it's not even a real thing, right? Are these white people in the room with us now? So what is it? I'm genuinely okay, let's go to the start here. Operation Ethno America is the woke rights version of critical race theory. A key operational goal of CRT is to get people to think mostly in terms of race, ethnicity, and racial conflict. And the same is true for Operation Ethno America. It's right-wing ethnic. The thing is every group does that except for white people. And for some reason, you're way more concerned with a handful of white people being like, hey, maybe we should do what they're all doing, than all the people who are like legitimately doing it. Right? Like, you're never going to see James Lindsay quote tweet Keith Woods calling out the Indians' ethnic centrism and being like, holy shit, these Indians are the woke, it's the woke Jeet, it's the woke Jeet hive, everyone. You guys aren't ready for the conversation, but we need to start talking about the woke Jeet hive organizing in their own ethnic interest. This person said, I'm genuinely curious what you think are reasonable responses for white people who just collectively found out that all the anti-white replacement conspiracy theories are conspiracy facts. Whites found out everyone else works collectively. What do? What are white people collectively going to do about it anyway, besides get mad and act like Antifa? Oh, you'll find out. I'm so optimistic about the next 10 years. You can just like feel the vibe changing. You know what I mean? Everything is headed in the right direction. Yes, there are going to be people who try to get in our way, like James Lindsay, but they are losing. Look at it. He's getting ratioed by Millennial Woes. No disrespect to Wozy or anything, but this guy doesn't have like a big Twitter account. 37,000 followers to James Lindsay's 533,000. And I know Twitter isn't the end all and be all of everything, but it's like you can just feel the vibe. You can feel the way it's headed. Something is coming, and it's very white in nature, okay? And I, for one, am stoked. I can't fucking wait. I can't wait for things to just keep going the way they are, which is in the right direction. Believe it or not, things are headed in the right direction. It doesn't matter that much what Musk and Trump does. We're like less than 10 years away from American Hitler, okay? Millennial Woe said, racial consciousness is the only thing that will save us. And then Lindsay says, or hear me out, penalizing it equally. So instead of turning to racial consciousness, why don't white people just penalize it? And it's like, hang on a sec. You're the one constantly crying about anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli sentiment and shit like that. But if you want to penalize racial consciousness, why do you love Jews so much? Are we really going to pretend that Jews are not a racially conscious people? No, it's okay when they do it because of the Holocaust. Remember that whole made up thing that happened 100 years ago? It's okay for them to do it because of 100 years ago, Mustache Man. At least they follow our culture or something like that. I think Lindsay quote tweeted this one too. Do you need a burp or a binky? Right. So, oh, you're a little bit, you don't want this to be your American experience. This looks like it's on a cruise ship or something. You don't want this to be like a cruise ship. What happens when you go on a cruise ship? You're a baby. You are a little baby. You are like a baby. Watch this. Richard Hanania says, the basic kindergarten teacher level insight that racists are bad people is generally correct. Notice how identity politics based in academia and activism is associated with scammy and dishonest behavior like hate crime hoaxes, plagiarism, various grifts. You'll see something similar with identitarianism on the right. People into being white overwhelmingly share fake news, are anti-vax, and are all around misanthropes. Well, there's big problems with the vaccine schedule. Not even going in on the COVID vax. Not even getting started on that. And people also do kind of suck. Like, I am a misanthrope. I'm not like bitter, but I am cynical. I don't know how you can't be a little bit cynical and misanthropic in the world. It's better not to be too much into that because you want to try to help people see the light. But a lot of people are just so broken because of the world we live in. It's hard not to be a little bit cynical. A lot of normal people have these instincts in small degrees, but they treat it rightly as something to be ambivalent or even ashamed. So, most people are racist, but the normal people are ashamed about it. Those who indulge these views and let them shape their conscious political ideals are different. Yeah, that's right. Built different. Keeping racists from achieving power is one of the most important political tasks in having a civilized... What a retarded take. All of the most civilized societies of human history were two things. They were racist and they were white. So, you know, the Indians are racist too, but they don't do civilization the way we do, okay? What a retarded take. Just delusional. Jared Taylor says, I have been in the racism business, as you would call it, for a long time. 30 years ago, I would have agreed. Racially aware white people were misfits, strange. No longer. The young people especially are fine, impressive people. Come to the next AmRen conference and you will see, right? So remember at AFPAC, when Jared Taylor was at AFPAC, and the BAP people were like, oh, look at how disgusted, you know, total like cope that they had to come up with because Jared lends so much, you know, movement credibility to Nick. They try to shit on Nick and be like, nobody likes this guy except for brown people. But it's like, Jared Taylor, I don't know who needs to hear this, but Jared Taylor has a lot more credibility in the movement than Captive Dreamer or MAGA Hulk or whoever. And look at the ratio. So Hanania got 500 likes. Taylor, who just created a new Twitter account yesterday, has 7,000 likes, ratioing the shit out of Hanania, just being like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Racism is cool now. Hey, buddy, we're young, we're racist, and we're cool. I mean, I'm not young, and neither is Jared Taylor, but the kids are all right. God, it's such a great time to be alive. 2025 is going to be a good year, and it's just going to get better and better. Anyway. New Idubbbz video, Your Body, My Birth Vessel. So this is like he's riffing on the Nick quote, Your Body, My Choice. You see he's got Ben Shapiro, Matt Gaetz, Nick Fuentes, and Charlie Kirk are all in the thumbnail, but their eyes are covered. Idubbbz gets to show one eye. Maybe I'm not, I don't know. I didn't go to art school, so maybe I'm not super clear on the significance of that. But because he said the N-word, maybe he has to cover up one eye, but he's on his redemption arc, his libtard. This is what happens. First, you're a shitlord saying the N-word and everybody loves you. Then you get scared of that and you go make normie content. You go make unboxing videos and boxing videos. Unboxing and boxing. And then eventually you're just like, okay, it's time to own the chuds. Let's have a look.
We've never, ever seen a generation or a group of people so angry, so miserable, so medicated.
My body, my choice. The feel when we control your bodies.
The messaging from the left is still so anti-male.
We will keep you down forever.
The women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions.
If you are an American woman, you have every right to choose in the world.
I mean, I hate to break it to you ladies, but you might not have had a choice in the matter.
Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thong.
I think it would be awesome for the looming fertility crisis if everyone here had 7 children. People say no less than 7. I think 7's a good start. I think 7's good. Or whatever number, 4, 5, 6.
How many kids does Charlie Kirk have? He does have kids, right? They had a daughter. He's got one child, a daughter, and a son born into it. All right, so he's working on it. He's on his way.
Ever use these on your butthole? It doesn't work out well. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of...
He still got it, you guys. He's still edgy. Clorox wipes on the butthole.
Idubbbz complains. Today, I'm going to be complaining about a little bit of a heavier topic than portion sizes at Cold Stone. This is a video about abortion. It's a very big topic, a very serious topic, I know. I'm going to treat it with all the respect that it deserves, all the sanctity that it deserves. Back in November, there was a trend amongst Twitter incels to tweet out some version of Your Body, My Choice, and for all of the self-hating women, it was My Body, His Choice. Of course, a lot of these accounts either went private or are suspended, which is quite the accomplishment to do on Elon Musk's Twitter.
Trying to speak to wide range of audiences here.
But for a lot of these accounts that remain active, with a couple of clicks onto their profile, it's pretty fucking obvious why they're tweeting out the things that they're tweeting out. They're just hateful people. We got a woman wearing a Confederate flag saying, My body, his choice. Now, how would this get worse? Oh, Nazi shit. My body, his choice. Nazi shit. And also selling courses on how to be more feminine. My body, his choice. Nazi shit. Your body, my choice.
Right. So again, he's on the destiny level of argumentation, like what we saw earlier, where it's like you just say Nazi and then you win. And I know, yeah, they're swastikas, they are Nazis, but so what is the point? I'm not saying they aren't Nazis. I'm saying what's so bad about that, Idubbbz?
And
Hitler!
Okay, I think that'll do for sample size. I just wanted to show you guys that if you did decide to look at any of these people's accounts, you're not gonna find an educated person, you're not gonna find a kind person, you're just gonna find a nasty piece of shit. Now let's talk about a woman's value. What is a woman's value? I guess you can narrow it down to reproductive organs, like, okay, her value is giving birth.
That is what the secularist left would like, apparently, is you take away the thing that makes women most women, i.e. getting married and having children. You take those things away from them, and then that will make them the happiest they have ever been. There's only one problem. There is no data to support that anywhere on Earth.
To take the part of you that is the most unique to your sex and then discard that or treat that as though that is a downside to who you are, it's antithetical to what womanhood is. It's very puzzling.
It's not even remotely puzzling. Let's just stop for a moment and think about why this is so fucking stupid. Why would you discard what makes you so incredible as a male? Your ability to bust. Your ability to bust is just so fantastic.
The rust belt or bust. Bust through their front.
This is like a common kind of false equivalence they do where they equate getting pregnant with busting a nut. Obviously, those are not quite exactly the same thing.
Or bust you in the mouth when she loved the bust.
Right, but it's like if there was like a big movement for men to get vasectomies or something like that, then yeah, that would be like a more valid, if there was an actual context where that was a thing.
Remember that time when Kamala Harris loved the bust? They presented her with the bust from The Fugitive.
I mean, you create the seed of life, Ben. Why would you discard that like it's a downside? It's not a downside. You should be busting left and right, Benjamin.
Well, what does he mean? Why would you just like, is the assumption here that Ben Shapiro is gooning? Because if I had to bet, I would bet Ben Shapiro probably isn't gooning. Okay. I would bet he probably is mostly, having sex with his wife and not, maybe using contraception, maybe, but I don't know. I don't want to think too much about Ben Shapiro's sex life here, but it's just this weird thing where he's like, why would you, what is he saying?
Ben Shapiro, you are the bust king. Women do not want to be known as, I was going to say the bust queens. I think a lot of women would prefer not to be known as baby maker, and she kind of does art on the side. Baby maker, and she does baking. She makes a pretty good souffle. She's a baby maker, and she sells some clothes on Depop. They're not going to
leave it to a guy without children to sit here and argue that your career is really your identity and the most important thing about you, and not your family. Leave it to the childless guy married to a literal whore who sells her nudes to the internet to sit here and be like, I'm here to speak for women and they don't want to be known as baby maker. Yeah, the term is mothers. Actually, the term you're looking for is mothers, but I guess it's easier to like mock it when you break it down to something more clinical like baby maker. And that's not what women don't want to be known as mothers. They want to be known as having an online clothing store.
forget that this is what they do. They have reminders every month of what they are and what they can do with their body. They don't need that to be their title. Just like you and I don't need Buster Extraordinaire as our titles.
Women find fulfillment in being married and having children. I can testify to this in my own life. My wife, of course, very famously a doctor, went to UCLA Medical School, brilliant woman.
Yeah, I didn't think him saying bust was funny until he said it for the 37th time, and now it's funny.
So the place where she easily finds the most fulfillment, and she'll tell you this, bar none, without a doubt, being a mom, being a wife. Those are the places where she finds the most fulfillment.
That's awesome. I would love for a lot of women to have the choice that your wife had and be able to postpone their...
It's the same for me, by the way. Don't let the groypers hear this, okay? Don't let the anti-wife jacks hear this. But I get a lot more fulfillment out of like being with my wife and children than I get out of any of this online stuff.
Pregnancy until a later date when they finish college, maybe have a stable job, and maybe aren't with like an abusive partner. You know, that would be ideal.
My wife's a doctor. She currently is not practicing because she's still taking care of the new baby and our 3 other children. And I will venture to say that she works harder taking care of our kids and doing work in the community than she did as a doctor sometimes. Because it turns out that career women, like, for example, my wife, a doctor, the thing she's most proud of is being a mom. I mean, like, this is very obvious stuff.
Ben Shapiro will constantly use his wife as an example of what is fulfilling to a woman, specifically a mother and a wife. But he does this after his wife has graduated, worked as a doctor, and now has kids. And I think the reason that your wife finds fulfillment out of being a mother is because she has something to compare it to, which is a career. And you can't play this game where you're like...
What a weird assumption. No, she wouldn't love being a mom if she wasn't a doctor first. Women who just go straight to having kids, they hate it. Actually, they're miserable. The only way you can like being a mother is if you have something worse that you've done to compare it to. What a bizarre line. Idubbbz has never been very good at arguing anything. Like, I had a whole series of videos, the content cope videos, that did very well on YouTube because he just says kind of dumb shit, you know?
My wife ended up finding more fulfillment. Therefore, women are going to find more fulfillment out of being a mother. Let them decide that on their own. Now, Ben and his cohorts obviously think that men and women have particular roles when it comes to being a parent.
Mothers are there to nurture, males are there to protect. I'm talking about traditional roles, like wife or mother for a woman, or father and protector for a man. The great joy of life in being a wife and being a mom, the great joy in life of being a father and a husband and a protector and a provider.
The women will create more life, something men cannot do, and the men will protect them.
And especially as the head of the household, the male, you must constantly be looking at the threats, right? You must constantly be looking at the attack.
Yeah, that's protector. Idubbbz. Why is there question? What do you mean? What do we call that? Looking at it's right here. It's the first one on the list, actually.
Vectors. Attack vectors? Are you a fucking fighter pilot? What are you protecting your kids from? Just
Woke Center Left sent $5. Ian Jomha, actual name, doesn't realize we all carry multiple titles: husband, father, son, brother, and the least important for me is engineer, which I literally only do to fulfill my much more important roles. What happens when Jeets take that?
Thank you, Woke Center Left. Yeah, exactly. And like, being an engineer is something that has that's something to be proud of, right? That has like social status attached to it. You know, I'm sure you probably don't mind when people ask you what you do for a living. Personally, I hate that fucking question. When I was a web developer, I liked it. I was like, oh, I'm a computer guy. I code. Now it's like, oh God, what do I do? Yeah, I do social media. I don't want to talk about it. But it's not. Yeah, it can't compare to like the real meaning in life, which is like procreating and having children and raising children and just having a loving family to spend time with. That's really the goal. I know Groypers hate when you say this, and your goal is supposed to be like, you know, uniting the tribes or whatever, being the chosen one. But most people are not going to be the chosen one, you guys. For most people, having children is going to be the most meaningful thing that you do. I'm sorry if that upsets you. There was some other point I was going to make here, but I forgot what we were talking about. Oh yeah, protecting. So this morning, my mother-in-law brings in the screen from my son's room, and it's mangled up. And I don't just mean the screen, but like the frame. It's like metal. It's not steel, but it's like a metal frame, and it's like mangled. And we're all looking at this like, what the fuck? Who did this? This isn't the wind or an animal. So we're like talking about installing Ring cameras, and is it aluminum? Yeah, you're probably right. But still, it doesn't just crumple. Yeah, I think you are right. I think it is aluminum. But it's still like it would be hard to do that as a man with your hands, okay? It would be doable, but you'd have to be really like working on it. So now we're like, okay, we're going to get Ring cameras all around the house. You know, we're on heightened alert, right? Because there's an attack vector coming in. And that's, as a man, you have to do something about shit like that.
And say it. You're protecting your kids from drag shows. We're in the 21st century. You need to wipe your kids' ass. You need to teach them good values. And you need to play ball with them. Like, what is this protector shit? You ain't protecting anything.
There are 3 types of people in this world. There are predators, there are infants, and the protectors of infants. You fall into one of those 3 categories.
Oh shit, I didn't know those were the rules that we were playing this game with. Damn it. Okay, I'm not an infant. I don't think I've ever protected an infant. Oh no. No. Boy, back up. I don't like these rules. I'm not an infant. I'm not a protector of an infant. Okay, how about this? There's 3 types of people in this world. Pedophiles, protectors of pedophiles, and people named Idubbbz. Yeah, that's right.
The Groypers complaining about wife jacks etc. remind me of Murdoch's legacy as the chosen one, aka the chronic masturbator.
I don't actually remember that episode. Maybe we'll have to check that out at this coming Christmas season, which is just right around the corner. Thank you for the $5. I'm not trying to rehash the whole wife jack thing. I shouldn't even mention it at this point, but
I really hate this idea of getting so like laser focused on these particular roles. That's the beauty in being a human being. We can both do these roles. Like, what the fuck is a single mother, if not a provider, if not a protector, if not a nurturer? She does all of the things that the man does.
actually a lot of single moms do not work. Actually, they actually just get like money from the government and the child support that the dad pays and shit like that. Actually, is it possible that a woman could provide for a child on her own? Yes, and I'm sure there are some who do, but this is like arguing from the sort of marginal examples rather than the general facts of life.
So why are we giving this title to men? Men and women are protectors, they're nurturers, they do all the things. By the way, the reason I'm saying this is just...
And it's also just like, who does it better? You know what I mean? Like, if we compare single moms to single dads, who is providing more for their families? The single moms or the single dads? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Suggest what they're saying is horseshit. If you have found in your personal life that your husband going off to work is a better setup and it's just a lot easier for you, or your wife staying at home taking care of the kids is better, that's awesome. More power to you. That's great.
Yeah,
but we shouldn't...
Thank you for the permission. It's funny too how those, whenever I see those like old like 50s styles Fallout style pictures, I always think like that. Yeah, that's exactly what everybody wants. That's the American dream right there. Is that supposed to be a bad thing? I get he's not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like, how do you not look at that and think, man, that looks pretty good actually?
Pretend that our lives are other people's lives. When left-wing women were protesting their rights being infringed, Ben Shapiro and Matt Gaetz both...
Yeah, that's right, Leica. What up, Leica? Nice to see you.
Both decided it was a good idea to mock them for being ugly or unfuckable.
So apparently, there are a bunch of left-wing women who are now declaring a sex strike. I mean, I hate to break it to you ladies, but you might not have had a choice in the matter, depending on exactly who you are anyway.
The women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions. Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
I feel like this is important to highlight because I feel like it's very telling that there isn't much ammo left in the chamber when it comes to women's reproductive rights. When Ben Shapiro is resorting to mocking women and saying that they're ugly, well, I mean, let's be real, he didn't say they're ugly. He just implied that they were ugly. He was basically calling them ugly in lawyer speak.
You might not have had a choice in the matter, depending on exactly who you are anyway.
Something I've noticed with a lot of these right-wing men is I think they're watching that pickup artist guy from, what was he from, like MTV or something? The guy with the big fuzzy hat?
Are you ready to know the 5 attraction switches that exist in every woman ubiquitously?
Because they're taking this approach of like telling women what they want and telling women what they need and what would make them happy and what makes them unhappy.
Having 3 kids is a really big deal and will make you happier. And a lot of women want to be stay-at-home moms.
Most women want to make babies. Most women want to have babies.
Most women are happier at home. They are pretending that they like working.
But you're talking to the women. They know. The women are going to tell you what makes you happy and what makes you fulfilled. Why are you doing it to them?
Like a perfect example.
Well, objectively, women are more mentally ill. They're more depressed in the post-feminism era than they were in that's just objectively true, that women are less happy now than they used to be. So we don't have to tell them that. We know it because we've surveyed the women and they've told us. I take happiness surveys with a big grain of salt, and I think everyone should. I don't think that's something that you can measure reliably, of course, but that is what the surveys say.
Example is like the pickup artists. What they say is that really with women, it's the same bag of tricks. You know, they're not fully rational. I don't believe that, like men, they possess a sort of full rationality.
Our attraction circuit looks at a woman's replication.
I don't know who this guy is, but he's vaguely familiar, man. I'm so glad the pickup artist shit got put away. It really is cringe.
Value more than her survival value. And it is all because of one device that is hooked up to her brain that she has hardwired into her chassis that we do not possess. A uterus. This uterus is going to change her behaviors.
Most women want to make babies.
Most women are happier at home.
Most women want to have babies.
Most women like making homes and like raising children, but most women are not.
This track goes kind of hard, not gonna lie. Can I make this my ringtone?
Funny. You know what it is? Most women are not willing to embarrass themselves.
They're not doing the one thing that they want to do, which is
The guy from Jamiroquai. Yeah, that's who it is.
get married and have children.
The vast majority of women are happier having kids.
If it's so fucking obvious that this is what women want, you shouldn't have to be chirping like you are. It should just be automatic. You should have some faith that these women aren't children, and that even if they're led astray and they get a career as a lawyer, after doing that for a few years, 10 years, they'll be like, okay, I'm ready for something different. The fact that they continue to spew this rhetoric is so fucking insane to me, because so many of these men are married to career women. Women who got a job as a doctor. Women who went through college and ended up having a career.
Almost none of the quotes were people telling women that they shouldn't work. I'll say it, and I know Gavin said it in his, but it's just, yeah, it's not, my wife doesn't work and we're very happy with that. So you don't have to work, but I just don't get what the, like, oh, but your wife works, therefore women should have careers. And the whole thing about how, like, well, just be a lawyer for 10 years. So, I mean, it takes like, what, 6 to 8 years to become a lawyer. And then you do that for 10 years. And now you're like 38. And now you're going to get married and have kids. The reason people warn women about, and including women, warn other women after they go down that path. And they're like, holy shit. It's actually kind of hard to get married and have kids when you're 35. It would have been easier to do when I was 25.
And did their
Idubbbz wife works. Yeah, she works all right.
career for a while and then had children.
We should say focus on family formation in your early 20s, then go to college in your late 30s. And then in their early 30s, they get really upset because they say, you know, the boys don't want to date me anymore because they're not at their prime. And people get mad when I say that. Well, it's just true. If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry. It's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s. But again, you have your corporate job and cats, so I thought, you know.
I'm pretty unsympathetic to the fact that Charlie Kirk thinks his wife is hotter in her 20s than she is now. What I take issue with is the fact that he's telling so many young people that they should get married and have kids in their 20s and postpone their careers till their 30s and 40s. But that is not what he did, and that's not what many of his colleagues did. If that's not what you did, you need to pair your rhetoric with, I fucked up. He should be telling all these women on this podcast, I fucked up. Me and all my conservative colleagues who spent our early 20s grinding, we shouldn't have done that.
All this talk about how you're going to be fulfilled having a career as a high-powered lawyer at 50 with no kids is nonsense.
A lot of them take on jobs that, they know is not going to result in some budding career. Like it's usually in fashion or textiles or something like that.
That if they put their entire life's meaning into their credential, into where they went to school, into what kind of job they have, if you put all of your life's meaning into that, you're going to be a sad, lonely, pathetic person, and you're going to know it internally, so you're going to project it onto people who have actually built something more meaningful.
I'm not going to lie, that was kind of a fair point from Idubbbz there, that if you are giving advice that you didn't follow yourself, you should say you fucked up. But I mean, you don't have to constantly be like all the time, like I fucked up, but you should acknowledge it at some point. I have done this. I had a child out of wedlock, and that was a fuck up, and I would not recommend that to people, which isn't to say that I regret it either. It's complicated, right? You can do things in the way that isn't ideal, but still not regret it because it ultimately got you to a better place.
With their lives.
It is crazy the amount of strays that are coming out of these people's mouths. All of their rhetoric can apply to Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Laura Ingraham, all of these like right-wing women who
via adoption and via IVF, by the way. So yeah, just a little asterisk there for the women who are past their early 30s.
Decided to focus in their 20s on grinding. Like many men are able to do, they decided to forego having kids and wait until they were in their 30s, or I think in some cases their 40s, to have kids. You're not going to hear Ben Shapiro lampooning Candace Owens for waiting until she was 30 to have kids. There's a clip of this young conservative woman who's trying to like reach Charlie Kirk and basically say like, what about like women having careers? And he just like completely like shuts her down.
Many women, a majority, like 90+% deep down, have this urge to reproduce and to raise children, and we are telling them to forsake that and go become a CEO of a shoe company.
A better way to propose feminism in the public media would be not to eliminate having children and tell women that they shouldn't have children, but to figure out your career first before you decide to like settle down, because you can't really undo that once you have kids.
So I think it's the exact opposite. I think you should have kids first, then do your career, because which one has a timetable on it?
True, but
so I do sympathize with women and the problem of like, if you're counting on a man to take care of you, and then the man decides he doesn't want to take care of you anymore, you're kind of left in a tough spot. It is tough. It's not like retarded for a woman to think like, oh, I should be able to take care of myself independently so that I'm not going to be the prisoner of some abusive prick or whatever. So I kind of sympathize, but obviously, like, ideally a woman shouldn't have to work. Things just work better when it's set up like that. In general, there should be some women doing certain roles, teaching and nursing and stuff like that, stewardesses on flights and that. I'm not saying women shouldn't work full stop, but doctors and lawyers, we don't need that. It's too much of a commitment on your part. But anyway, they should be allowed to, I guess, if they want. I was going to say something else there too. Lost it.
Like once you have kids, you're committed to that, and you can't really have as much of a career. So you should kind of define your I guess what I'm trying to.
Kids are way more important than being, a data scientist at Dropbox.
But
this clip pisses me off so much because he's being very disingenuous. He's trying to in this moment, elevate the role of a mother as being the most important thing ever. And you would be stupid to have your sights set on any of these other career options.
The problem is you just can't really have it all, I mean, if you're lucky, okay, you go have a career and then you get married at 30 and then you pump out a couple kids by 35 if you're lucky, but it's a gamble.
Options. A data scientist, well, you'd be a fucking moron to want to be a data scientist at Dropbox.
Kids are way more important than being a data scientist at Dropbox.
What happens when you speak to men? You want to spend your life going to different college campuses because you think the textbooks are too woke? That's like the most unimportant thing ever. Pro-life people will often boil down the reasons women have abortions into like 3-ish categories. 1, to protect the life of the mother. 2, rape or incest. And 3, convenience.
And now they want to be able to use scientific medical technology out of convenience? Vast majority of them are abortions of convenience and choice. So most are abortions out of convenience. 25% of all abortions in this country are done out of economic convenience. Do you think that's okay? We're going to keep on allowing abortion out of narcissism, convenience, and not taking responsibility.
Now, obviously, convenience can include many things. In fact, I have a long list of things. This is from Oklahoma. There's only so many states in the U.S. who will actually track the reasons a woman got an abortion, and each state does it a bit differently. I found that Oklahoma is very thorough. And when you plot all of these reasons on a pie chart, it actually starts to look a little bit different than this pie chart where it's like, oh, look at all the
Haha, got you, shitlord. It's not convenience. It's interferes with education. Has other dependents, cannot afford 5%.
look a little bit different than this pie chart where it's like, oh, look at all these abortions out of convenience. There are a lot of extremely valid reasons as to why someone would get an abortion that would fall under Charlie Kirk's umbrella of convenience. If having a child is
being unmarried was one of his examples of a valid reason. It's the problem with these debates with people like this is they don't consider abortion to be murder, which it is, right? So he's like, of course, if you're not married, like that's not ideal, but it's like, no, that you don't kill kids because you're unmarried. Like,
convenience. If having a child is going to affect your mental health at all, abortion out of convenience. Abusive partner, anyone in your life who's fucking abusive and is going to be close to your child, that would be an abortion out of convenience. Not having the finances, literally not being able to afford taking care of a child. These are all very valid reasons to get an abortion. He's being very manipulative by saying
they're not, actually. They're really not. The only one that I consider to be a little bit of a gray area is rape. And I guess like if to save the mother's life, those ones are debatable, but all this other stuff is not a valid reason to murder a human being.
that women are doing this out of convenience, because you would never use that word for other difficult life choices. If you put your elderly father in a home because you have 4 kids you have to take care of and a wife that relies on you, no one's going to say that you did that out of convenience. They're going to say, oh yeah, I can understand. That's a lot of people to take care of, and one additional person, would make it a lot harder. On the topic of abortion, euphemisms are very popular on both sides.
All the euphemisms the left has to use with regard to the termination of the unborn, which itself is a euphemism with regard to the killing of the unborn, all the euphemisms, termination, abortion.
People don't even put their parents in homes really a lot of the time. Like a lot of the times it's just your retirement plan is supposed to include you paying for your care, because families are so detached, and kids, a lot of kids just don't care about their parents. And it actually is something that could use a little bit more stigmatizing and shame induced if you don't care about taking care of your parents when they're old. We need to bring that back.
Planned Parenthood. All of this stuff just demonstrates they don't want to talk about the issue.
Oh, yeah. Also, it's not murder. Thank you, Jessica. Also, you didn't shoot your dad in the head because you had too many other people to take care of.
Talk about the issue, people immediately get uncomfortable. And they get uncomfortable because deep down in the human soul, something knows that there is something deeply wrong with a society that allows the killing of 1 million unborn children every year out of a perverse sense of authenticity and entitlement.
No, Ben, they get uncomfortable because it's fucking gross. No one wants to hear that shit. It's the same thing with circumcision. I'm sure you're familiar with circumcision. Instead of using the word circumcision, how about we say cutting a baby's dick off? Oh, we don't say that because it's fucking gross? Okay, well, there you go. There's your answer.
It's a slaughter in our country. It's 1 million babies every single year. I'm going to be able to have.
Well, hold on though. Is it murder or not? Like, I don't. Oh, okay, it's gross. Sure. That's not. What does that mean though? Is it true? Is it correct or not? You don't actually cut babies' dicks off, by the way. You cut the foreskin off. LP here, world's #1 circumcision defender, here to tell you that you're being a little bit disingenuous there, Idubbbz. I did not get my son circumcised, full disclosure.
Have sex how I want, and if I have to go put a dagger through, or have someone put a dagger through a child for me, then so be it.
Sure. What the fuck is Charlie Kirk saying? He's talking about using an enchanted dagger to kill a baby. I don't think babies are being aborted via daggers all that often. Most abortions right now are with the pill. It's like over 60% or something.
The baby fights, the baby struggles, the baby dodges, the baby avoids, they break the neck of the baby.
The baby ducks, the baby dives, the baby dodges. All of these women know what abortion is. They're not fucking confused by it. They know that it's killing the baby. Now, Charlie Kirk knows that him labeling
Well, at least he admits that much.
women as murderers would be a very unpopular take, but a lot of women voluntarily get abortions and oftentimes are relieved when they get them. So to cope with that idea, Charlie has come up with this fantasy that all of these women are just ill-informed.
I do not believe women, largely when they get abortions, know what they're doing. They're not given ultrasounds for their baby. They're not informed of the gruesome and graphic details surrounding their procedure. Instead, the justice system should be focused on the abortionists that are actually doing that procedure.
Do you think that people who procure abortions, women specifically,
Yes.
a woman who procures an abortion should go to jail for getting one?
Absolutely, yeah. They're the moral equivalent of Auschwitz.
Really?
Yes.
Millions of women are,
No,
are
not the
basically
women.
the same as like Nazi
Not the women.
death
No,
camp
the
guards.
women are victims. They're lied to. 90% of women do not see an ultrasound before they have an abortion. They have no idea what's happening to them. They're the victims here.
You hear that? They have no idea what's happening. These women are fucking dumber than rocks. They have no idea what's happening to them unless you give them an ultrasound. Because women, they have this weird quirk where like they don't understand what's happening unless it's like really foggy and scratchy and black and white. That's why like if you show a woman a map, it's not gonna make any sense to her. But if you make it black and white.
He picked like the smallest fetus he could find for that, by the way. That it's all about like obfuscating that it's a human child in there.
Doing a pro-life position or some other social issue, he'll have no problem bringing up the fact that there's plenty of welfare available.
But we have food stamps for anyone that needs it. We also have welfare cash for anyone that wants it. We have food stamps, we have Section 8 housing.
And then he'll talk to other people and describe his true feelings, which is, I want to eliminate welfare.
I reject those parts of government.
Of course. Income tax, welfare?
Yeah, that would be a good start. Food stamps are too much. Housing, Urban Development, Department of Education. Maybe we should be less focused on government welfare and more focused on work and literacy education and bringing fathers back into the home.
And then sometimes he'll propose his own bizarre welfare program, which has less strings attached to it.
I believe that for every child you get, you should get cash from the federal government. Did you know that?
That's great. How much cash do you want them to have?
$10,000, $12,000 a year. I think we need to increase the birth rate in our country.
With the amount of inconsistency I'm hearing from Charlie Kirk on welfare, especially as it relates to people who are struggling, I would not trust a single fucking word that this guy has to say.
That's a horrible policy. That in a white country that's 95% white, sure, let's pay people to have kids. In a country that is like 50% non-white and growing, let's not pay people to have kids because they will literally do it just to get the money.
Just outright lies to this poor college student who's questioning welfare spending as it relates to abortions.
But would you support expanding welfare to help, because abortion's often an economic issue as well? You wouldn't to prevent it?
No.
That just sounds evil to me.
Well,
That just
hold
sounds
on. That's a good, interesting point. So we've expanded social welfare. We spent $20 trillion in the last 60 years. Has that made abortions go down?
I
don't believe so.
The answer is no. It's gone up. So actually, the more we spend on social welfare, the more abortions we have. So you're coming at it from a faulty premise.
I feel like Charlie Kirk has been doing this long enough to know that spending has gone like this and abortions have gone like this. What the fuck? It is like... It's one thing if you want to argue that the abortion rate has gone down for separate reasons, but you have to make that argument. You can't just like try to dunk on a college student by lying to them. He's also obsessed with mentioning that there's a adoption waiting list of 2 million people.
So there's no such thing as an unwanted human being in this country. We have twice as many people on the adoption list than we have abortions in this country. There's 2 million people on the adoption waiting list right now, and there's 1 million abortions every single year. There are twice as many people on the adoption waiting list. There's 2 million families right now on the adoption waiting list, and there's 1 million abortions every single year.
This is another one of those situations where he's trying to set up a really straightforward equation that even the dumbest people can solve. Like, oh shit, so 1 million abortions every year, 2 million adoptive parents. That means we could stop abortions right now. That's not how that shit works. The foster care system sucks. The adoption system sucks.
There's no such thing as unwanted children in this country. So the idea of an unwanted pregnancy is statistically untrue.
There absolutely is such thing as an unwanted person. They're in the foster care system right now. There's a lot of homeless people who are unwanted, and they've been unwanted. Over half of homeless people have been in...
Those homeless people are like terrible people though. Like if we took just one random homeless person and made Idubbbz live with him for a year, he'd be like, holy fuck, I don't want this guy around or anymore. Like homeless people have like horrible habits. It's like, it's not a fair comparison. I thought he was going to be like, I honestly thought he was going to say Charlie Kirk is wrong. There's not 2 million people waiting to adopt. But instead he was just like, oh, the system sucks. Yeah, the system does suck. We all know the system sucks. Are you really better off killing the kid though? Like, would you rather be dead than be in foster care? I know some people will bite the bullet on that, but it's obviously insane.
The foster care system. This like pie in the sky, like everything's fine idea of there's no such thing as an unwanted person is factually untrue, and I don't think it's helpful for the reality that we're living in. Charlie has this very dumb gotcha that he likes to play with college kids.
One of these babies was conceived in rape. One of these babies was conceived in a consensual relationship. Which one's which? There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in rape. One is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which? Yeah. Somebody in this audience is conceived in rape. Who is it?
I can't point
exactly
that out.
Because babies conceived in rape get the same human rights as babies conceived in a loving relationship.
All right, Charlie, which of these blurry blood clots is a heavy period or an abortion? Which of these blurry blood clots is an abortion and which is a miscarriage? Whichever one you say is an abortion, the person whose picture that is, they're going to prison. If it isn't clear that these guys have some fucking breeding obsession at this point, let these clips be an example.
Just get married early. Like, reject the siren song of modernity and have lots of kids.
So what they found is either don't have any kids at all or have lots of kids. Have like 4 kids, right? Which is what we intend on doing. We intend on having at least 4 children. Just to tick off the feminists, I may make it 5. I would define sexual success, frankly, as being in a loving marriage where you have lots of kids.
Get married and have lots of kids. I recommend all young people to get married early and have lots of children. Do not believe the secular, like, I gotta wait.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a breeding kink or whatever, but I do think there's something to be said for like, this is sort of the more modern conservative version of the red pill thing, the pickup artist thing, where it's like, let me tell you, like, let me give you the harsh truths. You got to like bang out lots of kids. And there is something to be said for like dialing that back a little bit. Or at least, I don't know, trying to phrase it in a way that isn't so like, you have to do this, otherwise you're a failure.
Hey, no, don't believe the secular lie. Unless you're me and all of my colleagues, me and all of my conservative colleagues, we all waited till we were 30 to have kids.
The thing is it's different for guys. Like 5 out of the 6 people here are males. And I mean, I think most of these guys are probably married to relatively the same age women. So I guess it's fair if that's true. But if Like a 35-year-old guy can marry a 20-year-old woman and you know what I mean? And so it's not really the same.
But I think all of you in the audience, you should shit out kids when you're 16. That would be awesome. When Charlie Kirk needs to come up with practical solutions for real-world problems, he doesn't suggest new laws or policies. He instead starts thinking about the world in terms of a Sims game.
Putting fathers back in the home. We should be putting fathers back in the home. For someone to bring fathers in the home, the number one way to lower crime is to put dads back in homes.
Yeah.
Fathers in the home. I'd love to put fathers back in the home.
Are you proposing legislation to bring fathers back in the home?
But I believe most women have a biological predisposition to procreate and to nurture and to be mothers, and there's
He's actually playing The Sims.
nothing wrong with that.
I'm not a very traditional person. You might say that.
Or was that like an edit? I don't know. Turning Point Gaming. Is that a real thing?
That I'm infected with the woke mind virus, and I think it's a good idea that fathers go back into the home. I don't know what the right phrasing is.
Fathers in the home.
I'll just say fathers in the home. I also believe in fathers in the home. But why would I ever say that? To get an applause?
To the cowardly men that impregnate women and disappear, shame on you, and you're a big part of this problem.
100% correct. Anyone can point to statistics and say, it shows here that when you have this way of life, you have better outcomes, and your children have better outcomes. All right, so like, how are we going to employ that for people who don't want to live their life that way? I think a lot of these guys would do a lot better if they would just start fucking listening to the women that are around them.
Do you have any friends who've ever had an abortion?
Yes.
Okay.
And I grieve for them.
You grieve for them?
Because they were taken advantage of by people like you and the abortion industry.
Right, they were taken advantage of. That's how they feel.
That's how I feel. Many of them, by the way.
Charlie Kirk has friends.
He cut it off there before. He's like, yeah, a lot of them do end up regretting it. It's well established that a lot of women end up regretting their abortions. So,
who got abortions, who don't
What are we doing
feel
here?
like they were taken advantage of. He feels that way for them.
My sister, she'll say things to me like, maybe I should have delayed having kids, maybe I should have went to school, maybe I should have did this or that. And it's like, Lindsay, you've been a great mom. Your children are happy, they're healthy. People like my sister should not feel like the cultural messaging is your life is inadequate. The people who are sending that message should feel that their life is inadequate.
This is a normal complaint for every person to have. If you focus on one thing, there might be this looming regret that you have that you never did that other thing, that you never got a career, that you were never a doctor, that you never went on a backpacking trip, whatever the fucking thing is. That's a normal thing, and it's not the cultural messaging. These guys talk about how hard it is to raise kids.
You know, kids make you unhappier in some ways, but a lot happier in other ways. In fact, what polls show is that a lot of couples who don't have kids are pretty happy. Hell, I mean, I can understand why. I've had kids, I've not had kids. I understand it would be fun to go out with my wife every night. It'd be great not to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on children.
Raising children is hard. It is a death to yourself. It is one of the most difficult things you can do.
Saying that having kids is a death to yourself and one of the hardest things you'll ever do is, I think, very truthful. But these are statements that you're saying at 31 years old. How the fuck do you expect someone who's 18 to be able to handle that?
How'd they get pregnant?
What do you mean? They had sex, unprotected, or an accident?
So they want the orgasm without the responsibility. All the loose lifestyle, but none of the responsibility.
I think these guys have a very own up to it attitude where they have this kind of internal feeling of okay, I did the dirty deed, therefore I should own up to this responsibility and spend my life raising a child.
Yes.
They think that they need to suffer in that way and that the child needs to suffer in that way, but that's
No, the child doesn't have to suffer in that way. We'll just kill the child. And then there's no suffering because the child is dead and everyone's happy.
not the case. You can recognize that it was maybe a bad thing that you did, but that's very personal and individual to everyone. And if you personally feel like there's something that you need to own up to and take responsibility for, you're well in your right to do that. while researching this video, I discovered that the topic of abortion is kind of fracturing the right wing. They have a lot of different ideas of when life starts.
Although I consider myself begrudgingly pro-choice, and we can pick what that means.
I'm a pro-life absolutist and totally respect disagreements on the issue.
I lost my job at a conservative network because I said I was pro-choice.
People who call themselves pro-life are not actually as pro-life as I am. They're like, well, I'm pro-life, which means like abortion in the first trimester.
They're not as pro-life as I am. I think the sperm is alive. Dude, you're the one who said that you would have your daughter keep her rapist baby.
Would you want her to go through that and carry her rapist baby?
That's awfully graphic.
I mean, that sounds like a guy who's more pro-life than the average pro-lifer. I'm not sure how this is known.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
You're a loser. It's more important that you win
Oh,
a
sorry, I missed the part where he's a loser.
debate instead of being a little bit emotionally empathetic.
I conceived, and I've told this story before, all 3 of my children via IVF, but some hardcore pro-lifers, and I understand their position, I respect their views, but I completely disagree with them. Think this is a win because they don't like IVF because it creates embryos, not all of which get used.
I respect their views, but I completely disagree with them. This is why Democrats lose elections. Because, like, when Megyn Kelly disagrees vehemently with her party, she's like, but I totally respect their views. I gotta hold it down for my brothers. It's like, fuck you.
Here's what's ironic about me, Mr. Right-Winger, when it comes to abortion, and I even say this. I go, look, when I was younger, I got a few girls pregnant, and I was glad there were Planned Parenthoods, or whatever the f***.
Right now, you're watching Hit Like, they're pro-life, and they can laugh.
Man, that's a crazy admission of who's watching your program. I'll wrap this thing up by saying that these guys are well aware that they're losing the war.
It seems to me this is always going to be a loser for Republicans.
I understand it's not politically.
Yeah, he's talking about electability, though. It's not. That's a different question than the moral issue. Also, can we ask the gay guy what to do here? Can we ask the gay guy who bought a surrogate child what should be the moral approach to reproduction?
Feasible. I understand people like abortion, but I'm going to keep on standing for moral truth, even if it's unpopular. There will be some people that say, Charlie, stop talking about this issue. It's a losing issue. First of all, who cares?
And so we've lost the culture war to a certain extent on abortion. And what Donald Trump is doing right now is trying to win this election.
Based on the vibes I'm getting, it really feels like a lot of these people are not that committed to the pro-life movement. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for this video. I hope it was enjoyable for you to watch. And
it wasn't particularly. Yeah, I don't know, man. Politics are messy. You have to make compromises in politics that you might not want to make, unfortunately. There's kind of conflating the morality of the situation with the politics of the situation. Ugh. All right, let's check in on modern women, and then we'll call it a day here.
1, 2, 3.
We listen and we don't judge.
Okay.
Okay, so when I was in high school, I would sneak out my upstairs window and steal your car.
Steal her car. Okay, ready? We say, we listen and we don't judge. Okay. Okay.
Wait, get in frame.
Oh gosh. All right. When I was younger and I would get mad. When I was younger and I would get mad at you, I would dip your toothbrush. I would dip your toothbrush into my poop and pee toilet water when I was upset. Okay, your turn. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
We listen.
We say it.
Yeah, you have to say it.
You're like, no.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I'm
we
judging.
Listen and we don't judge. Okay, go ahead. Mom, do you have
your
one?
turn.
Yeah, this is like a weird struggle session to like force her to not be mad about things that obviously you should be mad about.
Go ahead. What do you mean?
This one.
There has to be.
Don't you want us to finish?
You need to get in screen.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you have one?
No. You don't have one? No.
All right. Well, Brittany, you go.
Okay.
Listen.
We listen and we don't judge. I don't think I like this game. When I was in college, I would steal all your Adderall.
Ready?
We listen and we don't judge.
Instead of going to prom, I went to club hopping in Rochester. We all did.
We listen and we don't judge.
I don't want to play this anymore.
No, you have to.
We have
you
a
have to
list.
go. Yeah, you have to go next. It's your turn. It's your turn.
I don't want to play it anymore.
Well,
What
we
do you
have to
yeah,
finish
we have
the
to
video.
finish.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
We listen and we don't judge. One time when you came to
I don't
visit,
even want to know.
one time when you came to visit, Jake had made like weed brownies and you ate like 3 of them.
When?
Like a couple years ago. When you
At your house?
Yeah. You literally ate 3 of them.
Ready?
We listen and we don't judge.
Why would you let me eat them?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that's really fucked up to let somebody eat multiple weed brownies unaware.
We were like, are you sure you want those? And you were like, yeah.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay. What is
Go
it?
ahead.
Here we go.
Go.
Sometimes I feel like I shouldn't have had kids.
Okay. All
We
right.
listen and we don't judge.
Okay.
She's
One time
actually
we got a
pissed
birthday
off.
card in the mail, and I stole the money and threw the card out. It was like $100. We listen and we don't judge.
I really.
Oh, when you would write checks to my school, I would have my friend's mom sign them over to her, and she would give me the cash.
Oh, God. That's
With
hard.
who?
I can't tell you.
Ready? We listen and
you
we
can say
say
you
it.
can't judge. It's judgment free.
Yeah, that's the rules. No judging. Haha, we stole your money constantly. Haha.
Okay, I have a really good one next. Ready?
We listen and we don't judge.
Okay. When me and Alyssa would have sleepovers at the house, we would call random guys online and tell them to come pick us up, and we would sneak out. We listen and we don't judge. Go ahead. Is there any more?
No. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Oh. Well, back in high school, when I didn't feel like washing the dishes, I would just throw them in the garbage.
Is that where all the silverware went?
That was good.
Yeah.
I feel like we bonded.
We did.
Okay.
That was really good.
I don't even like you guys like I used to. I listened and I judged.
People in the chat saying it's fake and staged. As usual, no, I'm pretty sure that that's real. I'm pretty sure she was genuinely angry and genuinely surprised at a lot of the shit she was hearing. You guys are always like, fake, staged, I'm so fucking smart. You're not as smart as you think you are. Anyway. That's the show for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.